Hello, TriStar vac fans. And this video I really hope is the last video of this type I have to show dispelling all kinds of rumors and FUD, F-U-D, that is fear, uncertainty, doubt, about using a single filter in a TriStar. So I'm dedicating this video to Rob from Vacuum Land and any others who have concerns about the bags, how they fill, clamping pressure, sealing quality, so on and so forth. So first off, this is my test bag right here. Okay, I've mentioned this before. Do you see how the cardboard has all these cracks? This did not come from normal usage. This came from doing all kinds of stuff to this bag, like turning it inside out, blowing it out, throwing it around, stepping on it, falling on it, installing it and uninstalling it probably at least 50 times. I would never expect anybody to normally use a bag that looks like this, okay, in their TriStar. And I've mentioned this before. I would expect them to use a HEPA bag. This is a Vacuum America clean bag, if you're new to my channel, you're seeing this, with a nice clean cardboard collar. You would, of course, install it once, fill it up, and then, I suppose, dump it and maybe use it again if you wanted to, but you could also just simply dispose of it, because after all, this does hold an awful lot of dirt. Might last you a long time, but I would never expect you to use something that looks like this. This was my test bag. So moving on from that. Specifically, some people have wondered, okay, more than just Rob. Well, you take a bag, you put it in here, right? You turn the machine on, and by the way, you saw no pre-motor filter. And you see that the empty bag pulls down, only down, and of course, nicely, actually really rather nicely, expands all the way around. And it does not suck anywhere near those fans. It doesn't do it. I mean, and remember, the distance is like, you know, yay far from here to there. Kind of out of frame. But bottom line is, it doesn't do it. And I can even be so sloppy with it just to prove a point. It's just, I'm not even going to try to put it in there. See, there's distance here. Do you see what the bag natively wants to do? Okay, it natively wants to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to go straight down. And of course, the sides expand very nicely. Now, did you also notice with the bag fully installed that there's a height? That means this bag sits above this lip. In other words, this bag is taller than the bag compartment is. So when I put this down in there, okay, and I force it down, the bag collar sits above the lip. So it doesn't sit below it. So even when this thing is stretched tight and expanded out with stuff, it normally natively can't go underneath. All right? It would require, frankly, an act of God in order to pull it down below this lip. It really would require something extreme. But enough talk. How about I show you? Now, I don't have 10 pounds of sand lying around to go and fill the bag, and that would probably be unrealistic as well. But how about some very thick CFM robbing dishcloths? So I can go and stick these into the bag, expanding the bag compartment. Literally, let's force it as wide as you can get it. See how I'm stuffing them? Okay, see how that's filling out nicely? So there, I'm going to stuff that in there. Now, what this will simulate is an awful lot of, say, fibrous material that clogs the airflow, so to speak. Well, at least through this. And this is probably worse stuff, density-wise, than most people would ever vacuum up, because this is thick. This is non-porous. If you try to breathe through this, it's not going to work. This is very thick, dense stuff. So I'm going to go and just, see the bag. Look at this. See, the bag is so full. See, it's scraping against the sides. So I'm just going to lay it there. I'm not going to touch it. So full bag, and this can't go underneath the lip. It can't do it. I can't. Well, okay, I can be an idiot and completely jam it and force it underneath. But I go like this, right? Fresh, clean. See, look at that. It's scraping there. Fresh, clean bag. Here, let me turn it 90 degrees. So I'm just going to leave it there. Now, did you see the sides actually suck down, right? So it rounds out everything in the inside. Amazing. Well, you say, that's not good enough. I don't believe you. The bag door is open. That doesn't simulate anything. Well, how about we put a little rubber seal on top? The seal that some people absolutely can't stand that I use. We'll flop this dude down, lock it. See the bag collar move? Yeah, neither did I. So it's not going to move. So the naysayers out there, I can see no situation where this bag is going to suck into an unprotected motor unless you specifically are a glutton for punishment and you do something intentionally stupid, like you put the bag in there and then turn the machine on. It's not going to happen. So how about we actually go and address clamping pressure? So we need to realize that when you put any bag in, no matter what bag you use, that you put the lid down and you have a clamp, okay? So let me go and reset up the camera at a different angle so we can look at this a little bit better. Let's check sealing or clamping pressure. Of course, if I were to check it here, I would end up lifting up the whole machine, so that's not really fair. The fairest spot to check it technically would be right here in the middle, so we have like an even distribution. But to prove a point, I'm going to check this and weigh this at the most vulnerable spot on the machine right here at the end, because I've got this nifty little hook right here, and I can use, hey, look at that, the seal. I can use this little fish scale. So what I'm going to do, right, since there's concerns about the bag's not going to be able to seal, even this seal isn't going to be able to seal. It's just not good enough. So let's see just how well this thing holds. So again, no pre-motor filter, nothing else in here, nothing up my sleeve. Here's a bag. I'm just going to set it in there, and then we'll just put the top down. I'm not going to clamp it. Obviously, if I clamped it, I could lift up the whole machine. So, no tricks. Let's see what it does. Okay, there's 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds. The machine is lifting up. So this is strong enough and seals well enough where we can, that's got to be a little too loud, where we can not use anything to hold that lid down, clamp or otherwise, and we have 4 pounds of pressure. It probably would be a little more than that, but it doesn't make any difference because I lifted the machine straight up. Again, just to show you this is live, no seals whatsoever. So concerning yourself that this bag somehow isn't going to seal well when used with a rubber ring and a clamp has now been pretty much proven completely false. It seals plenty well, so well it actually can pull the machine up into the air. Now, when you use the clamp and this rubber ring, and if you take a look at this rubber ring, I count at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count 5 ridges on either side. That means that's 5 seals. Just like a sweep underneath my door that seals between the door jamb and the door itself. I have one, I think it's got 4 or 5 little pieces in here that create, these ridges that create seals. Well, this has 5 opportunities to seal, both on the top and the bottom, to this metal plate and also to this cardboard here. So if I go and put this in, plop it down, and clamp it, and that is, that's tight, right? So, oh, it's going to come off, it's going to... Well, didn't I just prove that with this, that even if I didn't use the clamp, I could lift up the whole machine? Now, obviously, when you go and you put a hose in here, you're going to be rougher on it than I would be just gently lifting the machine. So, of course, you got to use the clamp. But the clamping pressure now, this just adds like an additional safety factor. So this is unbelievably tight all by itself. And remember, I tested it at the most vulnerable spot. If I was in the middle and testing it from here, I might even be able to lift the entire machine like this, even easier. Might even be able to lift it faster. So that kind of proves that the seal is just fine, even not using the rubber ring. But of course, use the rubber ring because it's nice. It's a nice rubber ring. You got 5 little ridges in there. This will actually squash down on the cardboard just fine. And of course, it will take the HEPA grade cloth and, squash that down to this metal ridge just fine. Use the clamp and you're in good shape. Now, let me go over, let's see, one other concern here. Let me change the camera, a little different angle, because the question was asked of why didn't I use this particular method here? So I've got a ring, this metal ring that's rubber, so to speak, and then I've got the bag. So what happens when you have a metal ring lying around? You've got a seal, right, from another bag setup. So I put the seal around the metal ring, and then I put the bag, the HEPA bag, on top. So when I put that into the newer CXL, where everything's just a little bit newer, a little less abused, at least in this case, there's a problem. So look at that right there. You see that? Look at how the lid sits. Okay, it sits very poorly. This is too high. So this whole thing is too thick. So let's take a look at this latching mechanism right here. So I've been working with these latching mechanisms for, like 50 years. I love them. They make a great click and, up and down or whatnot, and they're fun to use. But what I found is if you want a good seal and decent longevity, and you don't want to break anything, when they start to clamp, you don't want this lever to be essentially almost horizontal. That's bad. So can I force this down? Oh, I can. And I'm going to damage something over time. So that's too much clamping pressure. So that's the reason why I don't use this type of system. Incidentally, this is the first arrangement that I tried. I saw it and went, hey, I betcha I can use this little rubber seal, metal ring, put the bag on top, that's going to be great. And no, it doesn't work here. That being said, these clamps are adjustable. This isn't exactly, right, a pillar of fantastically accurate mechanical engineering, all right? It isn't. You can go and get a pair of pliers and you can bend this up, or out a little bit, change the angle. And then you can have less clamping pressure. Or for whatever reason, you could go maybe get a hammer or something and gently tap this, have it go down a little bit and get more clamping pressure. The bottom line is all TriStars don't have exactly the same clamping pressure, really, angle of the handle, as ones of different ages. They all vary around. They're all a little different. As an example, see this one behind it that's many decades older? So I have bag in here. This is just for show purposes, right? So the metal ring's not in there. But this one starts to clamp, right, way down here. So starting way up here is too high. That's going to create too much pressure. Starting way down here to really pull the lid down that's too weak. It comes up way too easily, just pops off. So I usually like to start somewhere in the middle, about 45 degrees. Some people might want to start a little bit higher than, like, say 45 degrees, but I can't recommend all the way up here because that is just going to be too much pressure. If you start clamping and you're down here, it's not going to be enough. So I typically recommend right around 45 degrees. It's a good average place to start. So that should take care of any clamping concerns. All right, so I hope this clears up and shows you real, actual proof rather than innuendo and rather than FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, over doing various different things with your TriStar if you feel comfortable doing such things. Not everybody does. I understand that. But to say that it's not possible and it's going to do damage or it's going to be a massive failure or it can't work well is completely false. And this is the last time that I'm going to bother with doing anything in this kind of video because frankly I've proven enough. So thanks for watching. Enjoy your TriStars in whatever method you decide to use for your bags and filters.